like glue. Some days I don't feel like trying. Some days, you know, I wanna just.
This is Anti-Tube. In this video, I'm going to try, for the first time in my experience, of using an Anti-Seize Thread Lubricant on a screw on a vintage Singer sewing machine. I recently did a video on a 301 machine about a broken motor mount bracket screw that I had broke off in up in here, and I was able to grab it with a vice grip and back it out, and it turned out okay. And on that video, one of the comments was from a viewer named Joe Valencic. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, Joe. V-A-L-E-N-C-I-C. And he made a comment about using these Anti-Seize Thread lubricants. And I wasn't familiar with them, so I asked him for more info, and he did provide more info. And one of the popular brands was Loctite. And I had seen that before over the years. I thought it was to like lock threads, lock screws and bolts in so that they couldn't vibrate out. But anyway, I searched it. He recommended an aluminum Anti-Seize Thread lubricant. And I researched them, and they're all pretty similar but have some variation depending on the usage. And the closest store to me where I can buy one without ordering online was an auto parts store just a couple blocks away, and they had a Anti-Seize Thread lubricant made by Versachem. This one happens to be for like a higher temp situation, but I talked to the owner of the store, who I trust, about using it in this situation, like a steel screw into aluminum or the old cast iron bodies, and he said absolutely this would work fine. This had it's made with a petroleum distillate, and that's kind of helps the lubrication. Then they have other additives to prevent the seizing and corrosion and what he called galling because of the heat. And these screws, they don't really get hot on these machines, but some of the gear screws would. But he said this one had copper for the heat, but that it would work great, no problem. He uses it on spark plugs and manifolds and stuff like that. So I picked it up. It was $2.99, and remember that there's a lot of brands, just like Joe said in his comment. I'll put a link to that video so you can scroll down and see the comments that he made. And I really appreciate that, Joe, because I didn't know there was stuff for anti-seizing. You know, I thought it was just like Loctite red, Loctite blue, like you put this on so screws don't vibrate loose. So I'm going to take a look at it here. The owner of the auto parts store told me it's kind of like a heavy grade Vaseline with other additives in it. So first let me give it a smell here. Yeah, it smells like petroleum jelly or Vaseline. Let me get a little bit on see if I can get this going here. It looks brown. Maybe from the copper. Maybe others have other colors. I don't know. It talks about not coming in contact very much with it, but I'm curious as to how it. Yeah, if there's additives, boy, they must be like micro particles. It's a little bit sticky. It feels like Vaseline or petroleum jelly. It really has almost no odor to it. On the instructions on this one, it says to clean everything, which I did on this machine. I cleaned it with crud cutter and cleaned this out with crud cutter and then rinsed it with alcohol. So clean the dirt and grease from the parts. Brush the lubricant on both parts. Assemble the parts normally and wipe off the excess. Thinning of this product is not recommended, and it's not a bearing or high-speed lubricant. So I'm going to just stick some in here and get that going. And I don't want to get this all over my little grease brush, so I'm just going to try and wipe it on this little screw with a Q-tip and get this. I could see why this would lubricate for sure, which I used to usually just brush these type of screws with my 3-in-1, or no, my Tri-Flow oil, the Tri-Flow Superior lubricant with the Teflon, just to prevent any rust forming, and hoping down the road someday, if anybody's got to take out that screw, it won't be seized up in there. So I'm just going to put the, well, I don't need to do that. Let's just see how putting this screw on goes in. That usually goes in pretty easy when I just have the 3-in-1 or the Tri-Flow oil. Yeah, it goes in real easy. I guess because of the petroleum jelly, you know. So I like it. I like the whole idea. I don't think I would use this on every screws, but some of the screws that I frequently have a hard time with, this motor mount screw and these bed cushion, or the little rubber feet, these screws, even in some of the cases, can hang out the bottom, and I've had these pretty tough to get out sometimes. And maybe a feed dog screw and stuff like that. So I could definitely see using this. This machine's almost 60 years old, and when I restore them, I expect them to last another 50 or 60 years. So if there's something that I can inexpensively, easily, and quickly do, like putting an anti-seize lubricant on some of these screws, so that if 10 years from now somebody's in here to take that motor out to like replace the carbon brushes, and the screw will come out without being all stuck and jammed up in there. I really like that idea a lot. Yeah, this goes in very smooth now. I like it. I like this idea a lot. Thanks, Joe. And again, I could see using this. There's a few screws, the bed foot screws, maybe the feed dog screws. Thinking of some of the ones that I've had some trouble with. Occasionally the bobbin winder screw that's back here behind the hand wheel. I've had a hard time getting that out, and look, I just used a little tiny bit. This was a 1-ounce tube for $3, and some of the other brands that Joe, this was Versa Chem out of Ohio. Some of the brands that Joe had mentioned were Permatex and Loctite, and he's right. They're available all over the place here in the United States, and eBay and Amazon and Walmart. A lot of the hardware stores in my town, when I'd go to their site and search for it, they'd have it, or they'll order it, and you can pick it up within a day or two. So I plan on incorporating this from now on when I'm doing restorations, and I'm putting back in screws that I know can be difficult. And reading about it, there's different situations and things I've talked about steel and aluminum expand and contract at different temperatures and different amounts. And this seizing and stuff can actually, some metals actually interact with each other, and there was even some talk about micro welding where they kind of get stuck like that. And you got to remember, if you're working on a machine like this, the screw could be in there, 30 to 60, 70 years, and on the Black Singers even longer. So I liked it. I like the idea very much, that because I know the machine can last that long if somebody takes care of it. So it's very, very inexpensive. The $3, I could probably do 300 screws pretty easily. So a penny a screw to put it on. So I just wanted to share that with you because it was another great AntiTube viewer that made a very good suggestion in a comment. And I've had almost 500,000 viewers now, and they're not going to see every comment on every video. So I thought this was such a good idea, I just wanted to share it. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you'll come back and to my channel and see other videos and maybe pick up some more tips. Take care.
I'm stuck on you, stuck like glue. You and me, baby, we're stuck like glue. Stuck like glue. You and me, baby, we're stuck like glue. Stuck like glue. You and me, baby, we're stuck like